Chapter 20. In Step. I sit up in bed, confused about everything. Where am I? What was that ear-splitting sound that just woke me up? And why am I hearing other people moving and talking all around me? I rub my eyes. There's hardly any light to see by. Pop? I whisper. Someone grabs my shoulder and shakes it. Wake up, boy! Didn't you hear the bugle? The face thrust in front of mine is not my father's. It's a younger man. His dark eyes are deep-set and close together. His broad brow is knitted above his thin eyebrows. His earth-colored cheeks are scarred with pox from a bad case of chickenpox as a child. His lips are thick, his chin broad, and there's a gap between his front teeth. When he speaks, it's with a lisp. But despite that seemingly unattractive catalog of features, the face that staring at mine is a pleasant one. CB. His name comes to me at the same time I realize where I am, where I've been for over a week now. Chalagi Indian School. CB is the boys' advisor for House 4. He's Cherokee, graduated from this school 7 years ago. His room is one floor down. Blackbird, CB says, his voice firm but not unkind. Am I going to have to douse you again to get you up? Like he did the first morning I was here and refused to stir. I just kept trying to dig further into my dream of riding a fast freight to California by Pop's side. When nothing else roused me, not Possum tickling my nose with a feather or Deacon prodding the sole of my bare foot with a stick, CB knew what to do. He heaved me up over one broad shoulder, carried me outside to the horse trough, dropped me in, and worked the handle of the pump so vigorously that I nearly drowned in the torrent of cold water. No, sir, I say. I sit straight up and throw off my covers. CB laughs. You slept in your uniform? Yes, sir. I pull on my boots, quickly put up the wrap leggings that were so much trouble for me to figure out 6 days ago. I don't have any hair to comb, so that morning task isn't needed. I drink water before climbing into my cot, so I don't need to use the latrine down the hall. Thank goodness for that. I've had enough of that latrine to last a lifetime. First job I was assigned was to clean it several days ago. Walking in there, kerchief tied over my nose, brought to mind something I read in my mythology book. The labors of Hercules. But Chalagi Creek, the stream that runs through the school grounds, is half a mile away. No way I could divert it to flow away the stinking mess in that boys' room the way the world's strongest man ran a river through the Augean stables. No latrine for me. Each night I follow the lead of Possum and Deacon and the others. They climb out the window after dark, go down the vine, and use the old outhouse claimed for our gang 50 yards behind Building 4. None of us go alone. There's something about being alone outside in the night that's unsettling. It's not the woods, but around the school campus. I realized that the first night here. I woke up in the dark, feeling the need to relieve myself. No one else was stirring, but I remembered the outhouse Possum had pointed out to me. I figured I could find it by myself. Better than walking into that stinky washroom in the dark and stepping on who knows what. I crept down the narrow aisle between the bunks to the open window. I descended the Virginia creeper, easy as going down a ladder. Then I stood looking off to the east. There was a bright half moon in the sky. The night was warm. When I looked west in the direction of the low stone building that was the lockup before it was locked shut for good, a chill went down my back. I thought about climbing back up the vine, but then I heard a soft scrabbling sound like a big squirrel on a tree trunk. A second later, Little Coon dropped to the ground beside me. Don't want to come down here alone, he said in a soft voice, rubbing his hands together. There was enough light from the half moon for me to see his face, how serious his expression was. He pointed with his lips to the west, the direction of the old jail building half a mile away, a deeper shadow in the center of the dark field. Don't ever go near there at night, Jaybird. The hair stood up on the back of my neck. A chill went down my back. Haunts, Little Coon whispered. Some died in there, you know. I closed my eyes and shook my head. The last thing I wanted was to know more about that, or to be back in there in one of my visions. Somehow that worked. I opened my eyes and I was still in the present. Okay, I said, let's keep going. Then, without another word, the two of us made our way east to the outhouse. I thud down the stair, one ripple in a stream of boys all dressed like. I thud down the stair, one ripple in a stream of boys all dressed alike in doughboy duds. Army surplus and never used, we've been told. But Ira, one of the boys in our All Creek gang, swears that the uniform his older brother was issued when he was here 5 years ago had a bullet hole in it, right over the heart. So I suppose it is possible I am knitted out in a dead man's clothes, which seems only fitting as how I am sleeping in the dead boy's cot, right under those initials of CC carved into the wooden rafter over my head. Fortunately, though, since arriving here, I've not shared any past lives in my dreams. I line up proper, back stiff, eyes straight. I don't twitch a muscle, having learned my lesson at inspection that first day. I shifted one foot and had it stomped on hard by our company officer. Ray Chapman is his name. He's determined, despite the fact that he's been saddled with me in mid-semester, to win ribbons during Sunday dress parade. He's full-blood Cheyenne Arapaho. A real Indian. That's what Possum calls him. I've learned a lot in the 7 days I've been here. Little of that has been in the classrooms. The academic teachers are lifelong employees of Indian schools and all are white. They know what to expect from us, pretty much nothing. So they give in proportion to their expectations. The only academic teacher who seems to give a hang teaches English to the middle grades. She's a round widow lady with snowy hair and pale skin. Her name is Mrs. Teague. Attention! I've let my mind drift again. As a result, I'm a second late snapping to attention. Since we're all in one straight line, my slowness stands out like a sore thumb. Ray Chapman, Sergeant Chapman, has the eyes of a prairie falcon. He sees my mistake right away. Bird! He bellows. His voice, when displeased, has the same volume as an angry bull. Yes, sir! I reply, yelling as loudly as I can. I learned to do that my first day of being lined up, but only after doing 100 push-ups, 10 for every time I didn't shout out loud enough. Sergeant Chapman plants himself in front of me. He gives what Possum calls the stare. I keep my eyes front, not moving a muscle. Fewer push-ups that way. You are a useless pile of dog dung, he says. Yes, sir! The hint of a smile flickers across his face. Chapman's not a bad sort out of uniform. He has a sense of humor. It shows itself now and then in pranks he plays on us. Yesterday, he had us all standing at ease, eyes front, hands behind us. Then he walked around behind us with a pot of mush, ladling sizable spoonfuls into everyone's open palms. Chapman's also the best dancer in the Indian Dramatics Club, formed here 2 years ago. Man, Little Coon said, you ought to see how he moves them feet of his. I won't be learning any of that dancing. Every member of the club is Western Indian, Comanche, Cheyenne, Kiowa, and so on. No students from the civilized tribes like the Cherokees and Choctaws and Creeks, who make up half the population at Chilagi, belong. Being so civilized, us Eastern tribes don't dress up fine with such feathers. The stomp dances we do are not dramatic enough to show off to the public. For the public. That means, aside from when special guests are invited here to see a real Indian show, the members of the Indian Dramatics Club don't dance where the rest of the students can see them. Even their practices are private. The Indian Club's main job is to perform off-campus, civic groups, fairs, and the like. They do it to raise money and represent the school in a positive way to the general public. That way, the surrounding towns don't just see Chilagi as the place Indian boys and girls are always trying to escape from. Nearly 100, I've learned, tried that in the first 3 months of this new year. Deserters is what they're called. It's a big problem. The school pays local law enforcement officers for returning runaways. Everybody here knows that. Some have even seen the superintendent counting out bills into the outstretched hands of men bringing back runaways they've caught. As much as $3 a head, Possum told me. That explains why Sheriff Boyle, back in the hobo jungle, was smiling so much when he mentioned Chilagi. Catching deserters has been earning him a pretty penny. Forward, march! We step out as one at the command. For once, my feet are in perfect step. Sergeant Ray nods and turns his critical eye on the light-skinned boy behind me. Get in step, Arnett! Staying in step. That is what the government decided was needed to keep a bunch of wild Indians in line. Turn them into imitation soldiers, rather than have the U.S. soldiers fight them. Idea here, Possum said after my second day of drill, is to kill the Indian and save the man, he chuckled, even if it means marching us to death. A few days ago, I didn't really understand that. How could you kill someone and still have them be alive? Since I've been here, I've begun to see the meaning of it. Make you obedient, dress you like a white soldier, drown whatever's free inside you so they can boss you around. Even though I don't feel like I'm really an Indian, despite what Pop told me, I don't feel good being treated this way. I understand why so many would rather run than keep marching to a white man's tune. Pop ran away from here, so could I. But if I ran, would Pop be glad to see me? Probably not. Much as I wish I wasn't here, I don't want to disappoint him. Not only that, would I even be able to find him? No, my only option now is marching, not running. About face! I've been so deep in my thinking about everything that I have almost forgotten where I am, marching in formation with my unit. But a week of drilling has made my feet more attentive than my brain. I'm turning and staying in step with everyone else before having a chance to think about it. Our unit's no longer anywhere near the dorm where we started. We're at the parade ground area, half a mile from where we started. My body's been marching while my mind was on vacation. Company, ho! And here comes Sergeant Chapman walking right up to me. Am I about to get it for messing up our formations by marching like a sleepwalker? It'll probably mean 100 push-ups for me, if not 500. Eyes front, spine straight, shoulders back. Bird, Chapman says. Bird. Then he smiles and pats my right shoulder. Best job yet, cadet. Not a wrong step. I'm so shocked that I hardly hear him say dismissed. I stand there for a moment, but no longer than that. The sound of the bugle, number 2 of the more than 20 calls that punctuate our daily schedule, comes a second later. Sergeant Chapman has played a joke on us again. He's marched our unit so far from the dorm that we'll have to scoot like the dickens to avoid being marked tardy. I start trotting with the rest of the boys in our company, back toward the dorm to change into clothes for classes or work. Hustle up, Ray yells after us. He's watching us, hands on his hips. Then he takes off himself, sprinting past us all as if we were standing still. Come on, slowpokes, he yells, turning to run backward. Get the lead out. Catch up. I've heard Chapman is the fastest runner in the school, captain of the track team. There's no way I could ever beat him in a race. However, he's not running forward, and I haven't gone my fastest yet. And this chance to run, really run, makes a voice in my head say, yes! I kick myself into a higher gear, head down, arms pumping. I sprint past Ray Chapman. He's so surprised he almost tangles his feet as he turns to run in earnest. Of course, he reaches our dorm ahead of me, but I'm not far behind him. Everyone else is at least 50 yards back. Ray Chapman nods. We're both leaning forward, hands on our knees as we try to catch our breath. Bird, he finally says, a smile on his face. You can fly. Think about the track team, okay? I've run so hard I can barely breathe. How can I explain to him that the last thing I want to do is join anyone's team? My plan is to get out of here as soon as Pop gives me the okay. The sooner, the better. But I appreciate what he said, so I managed to gasp out, Yes, sir, Sergeant. After drill, it's just Ray, he says, straightening up. Then he walks away.